A major legal development is unfolding in America's immigration landscape today. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit has U.S. District Judge Sarah Ellis, an Obama-appointed federal judge in Chicago. The order prevents Judge Ellis from requiring a senior U.S. Border Patrol official to appear in her courtroom every weekday evening to report on immigration enforcement activities in the city, according to the appellate court. The judge's directive represented a significant constitutional overreach into executive branch authority. Welcome to USA Migration Compass, your trusted source for verified updates on U.S. immigration, policy, and government affairs. Please make sure to subscribe, like, and share this update so you never miss critical developments shaping America's future.
To understand today's ruling, we begin in Chicago, one of the largest sanctuary jurisdictions in the United States, where immigration enforcement has long been a point of conflict between federal officers and local political leaders. In recent weeks, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and the U.S. Border Patrol have expanded operations across the Chicago metropolitan area as part of broader national efforts to locate, detain, and remove individuals who have violated U.S. immigration law. These efforts intensified due to ongoing concerns about criminal activity and repeat immigration offenses among certain groups targeted for federal action. During the rollout of these increased enforcement operations, Judge Sarah Ellis issued a temporary restraining order addressing aspects of how force could be used during arrests and detentions. After reviewing several videos that she believed raised questions about compliance with her order, Judge Ellis took the highly unusual step of requiring Chief Patrol Agent Greg Bavino to personally appear in her courtroom every weekday at 5:45 p.m. to give in-person updates about daily field activities. This directive was not issued in response to any formal motion from the case's plaintiffs, and according to the Seventh Circuit, the videos Judge Ellis cited did not involve plaintiffs in the lawsuit. Instead, the judge acted on her own initiative, expanding judicial oversight into operational enforcement, an area traditionally reserved for the executive branch. The Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Trump administration quickly filed an emergency petition for a writ of mandamus, a powerful, extraordinary judicial tool reserved only for correcting clear abuses of judicial authority. Mandamus petitions are rarely granted because they require a showing that a lower court acted so far outside its lawful authority that normal appeals would be insufficient to mitigate the harm. Federal attorneys argued that Judge Ellis's directive violated foundational constitutional principles. Their central claim, by ordering a senior executive official to report daily to the court, the judge was infringing on the president's Article II authority to execute federal immigration law. They further argued that such forced daily appearances would divert the Border Patrol official from his core operational responsibilities, thereby interfering with national immigration enforcement priorities. The petition also emphasized that a federal district judge cannot unilaterally supervise or monitor executive branch personnel without a clear legal basis rooted in statutory authority or relevant case law, especially not on a daily, indefinite basis.
Today, the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals agreed with the federal government and officially granted the mandamus petition. In a strongly worded opinion, the panel held that Judge Ellis's supervision of a senior immigration enforcement officer amounted to a direct intrusion into executive operations. The appellate court highlighted two key issues. One, the judge's order transformed the role of the court. Instead of acting as a neutral adjudicator, Judge Ellis effectively became an inquisitor, monitoring daily enforcement decisions in real time, an authority not granted to Article III judges under the Constitution. The appellate court highlighted two key issues. One, the judge's order transformed the role of the court. Instead of acting as a neutral adjudicator, Judge Ellis effectively became an inquisitor, monitoring daily enforcement decisions in real time, an authority not granted to Article III judges under the Constitution. The order placed the judiciary in a supervisory role over executive personnel. By requiring daily reporting, the judge inserted the judiciary into personnel management and operational oversight, which the Constitution reserves for the executive branch. The Seventh Circuit wrote that these actions infringed the separation of powers, and that waiting for a full appeal after the case concluded would not remedy the significant constitutional concerns created in the meantime. This ruling centered on one of the most essential principles of American governance, the separation of powers. Article 1 creates Congress, responsible for writing the laws. Article 2 creates the executive branch and empowers the president to enforce those laws. Article 3 creates the federal judiciary, which interprets the law and resolves disputes, not oversee day-to-day executive operations. Immigration enforcement, according to long-standing precedent, is a core executive function. When a judge attempts to continuously supervise executive officials, the balance between branches risks collapsing. The Seventh Circuit reaffirmed that judicial authority has limits, even in cases involving controversial policies or political disagreements. The ruling also emphasized that judicial oversight must be tied to actual motions, plaintiffs, or identified injuries, not initiated solely on a judge's independent concerns.
Supporters of the decision, federal officials supporting the Trump administration welcomed today's mandate as a necessary correction. They argue that allowing a single district judge to direct and monitor day-to-day executive actions could set a dangerous precedent for future administrations, regardless of political party. Conservative legal scholars also praised the ruling, saying it reasserts constitutional boundaries at a time when federal courts increasingly issue orders affecting national policies. Critics of the decision, progressive advocacy groups, however, expressed concern. Some argue that the judiciary must be able to investigate potential abuses in enforcement activities, especially in cities with vulnerable immigrant populations. Local leaders in sanctuary jurisdictions contend that federal officers must be held accountable when conducting operations in densely populated areas. Critics fear that limiting judicial oversight may reduce transparency, particularly in matters involving the use of force. Legal experts widely agree that the case raises serious questions about the extent of judicial power in supervising executive branch activity. Constitutional scholars note that mandamus relief is extremely rare, making today's ruling a powerful rebuke. Immigration policy analysts argued that requiring daily court appearances could significantly hinder operational readiness and resource allocation. Separation of powers experts emphasize that while courts must ensure lawful enforcement, they cannot assume a managerial role in federal operations. This moment, they say, will likely serve as a reference point in future disputes involving judicial interventions into executive functions.
The immediate impact is clear. Executive branch officials in Chicago will no longer be required to appear daily in federal court. But the ruling's implications extend far beyond Illinois. Today's decision may strengthen the executive branch's ability to conduct immigration enforcement operations in sanctuary cities without fear of daily judicial interference. It may also discourage other district courts from imposing unusually invasive supervisory conditions on federal officers in ongoing immigration cases. Additionally, the ruling is expected to influence legal strategies in similar disputes across the country, as states and municipalities continue to challenge federal enforcement priorities. The decision comes in a year marked by elevated tensions between federal immigration authorities and local governments seeking to limit cooperation with ICE and Border Patrol. Courts across the nation have been central battlegrounds in these conflicts. In recent years, legal challenges involving immigration enforcement, sanctuary policies, border management, and executive authority have surged. This latest ruling highlights the ongoing struggle to balance federal responsibilities with local oversight, judicial authority, and constitutional limits. Following the mandamus order, Judge Ellis will need to revise her approach to supervising the case. The Seventh Circuit's decision does not end the underlying litigation, but it significantly narrows the range of actions the district court may take. Federal officials are expected to continue their Chicago operations under existing immigration law, while legal observers anticipate future motions and possible appeals related to other aspects of the case. Observers also expect today's decision to serve as a guidepost for future disputes, where executive discretion and judicial oversight intersect. Today's appellate decision marks a major affirmation of constitutional structure. The Seventh Circuit's ruling underscores limits on judicial authority and reinforces the executive branch's primacy in enforcing immigration law. As immigration enforcement efforts intensify in 2025, this decision will likely influence both legal strategy and national policy debates in profound ways. This concludes today's special coverage from USA Migration Compass. Stay informed by subscribing and following for continuing updates on immigration, law, and U.S. policy.